Hi,
Hi.
welcome back to our channel, Faith and Love. I'm Linley.
I'm Love Mom.
What are we talking about today, babe?
So today we want to talk about the idea of uncertainty. So I'm sure all of us at one point or the other have been in a place or have been at a place where we're just not sure what to do. It could be in our jobs and we're just so unclear where we're going and what's next. It could be our health. I think this idea of being on a road and just this fogginess and just we're not sure of what the next thing, what will come is, and just how do we deal with that, how we've struggled with that idea in our own lives, and just maybe some tips of how to move past that uncertainty and what that means in our own lives. Yeah, so babe, when have you ever felt uncertain about anything in your life, or have you ever struggled with uncertainty in your life?
If this was 4 months ago, I think I would have been able to give a somewhat solid no.
Okay.
Like, I've experienced moments where, yeah, sure, you're not sure what's going to happen, whether in the progression of your career, but you're sure that you have that, the job security is there. You're not sure exactly what will pan out when, where, and how.
Yeah.
But that path, it's there,
It's there.
right?
Yeah.
So I've never really experienced that, whether in career, whether it's school, whether it's, any of my creative crafts, up until 2 months ago.
What happened 2 months ago?
So my contract with my current employment coming to an end because of the office closure and everything. So what I've always experienced in my life is, especially in my career, if there's one thing I've been secure in, is my career, job security. I've never been one to wonder, oh, what's going to happen? Am I on the right path? From the time I graduated in school, came home December, January, I had a job. From that job, 4 years later, got another job, smooth sailing, climbing the corporate ladder and everything, even to the point where God moved me in places where I didn't even think of asking for, because I'll probably think it's too soon.
Right.
But then now suddenly I'm at a point where I'm receiving news that, oh, you'll be jobless in 8 months. And I'm just there like, oh, okay. So that was the first time that I ever experienced it. And I think because it was my first time experiencing it, it took me a while to accept it. It took a while for it to sink in.
Right.
Right? You know how usually things happen to other people, but you never think that will be you. You've never experienced it. You don't think that will ever be your portion. And then it's suddenly happening and you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was the first time I experienced it.
And how did that? Because that makes sense. So much, like just the idea of not being secure anymore in terms of like pretty much all of a sudden, just this bombshell just drops and I'm not going to be on a job anymore. How did that? At least, how did you process that and? How did that start to?
For the most part, I was confused and I was asking God, okay, so why? Why did everything that I've experienced, all the progression, all the recognition, the advancement in my career from the time I started working in 2017, why did you make me, you made it seem like, oh, my path was going to be smooth sailing and I'll just keep rising the ranks. But now suddenly I'm at a point where you want me to be jobless. So I was confused. I don't want to say a little angry, but I was a bit upset. Like, why? Why do all of this?
Why just take me all this way to just?
And I think the biggest issue is, if I had stayed at my previous employment, I guarantee you I would have that job security for years to come. People don't just leave audit firms. If there's one thing, audit firms will keep you.
Right?
But now I leave that to come into a sector that is fairly very new. And then again, as I joined this sector, it's 2 months in, 3 months in, things seem to be going up and up and up, and then now suddenly 6 months later, you're telling me
it's gonna be dropped.
within a year I'm going to be, jobless. So I was mad, and also because prior to taking the job, I had consulted God each and every step of the way. My first interview, my second interview, even prior to accepting the offer, I said, Lord, I don't want to be called back for a second interview unless if this is for me. I don't want to, I will only know that this is for me if certain things, show themselves.
Right.
So that's how I felt. And just really confused as to why God would bring me this far
and because I guess all those things that you were bringing up were being met.
Exactly. So I'm there thinking, oh, God is approving. He's approving. So it's like, why are you approving for me to be here?
Okay. So I think what you bring up there is an important aspect to what we're trying to discuss here. So as we've said, uncertainty can be, yes, in a job scenario, as you've put it, but it can be in anything in our personal lives or in our spiritual lives, where we're at a crossroad and it seems like we can't decipher what is going to happen beyond, and we're just stuck. And I think the default is almost to go like, but why? Why is this happening this way, and why am I, or why doesn't God seem to have my back in this situation? So I think.
When have you ever felt like that?
So, well, when I got my job, initially we didn't really know how long it was going to be, so it was usually just being extended initially I think it was 6 months, and then they extended it for a bit, and then we got another contract. But that contract, in as much as they had said it was going to end in December, there was some sort of, I guess, hope that there's going to be something beyond that contract. But then when December approached and there was no clear item or anything to grab after December, and people actually got the letter of saying, okay, you are not coming back after December. Yeah, and especially because at that moment now we had started our family, and there were so many things that we had to do in terms of our finances in that moment, and things that we needed providing for. I think in that moment was when sort of I was stuck between where am I going next and just, oh, what am I going to do? And I think uncertainty showed its face quite a bit. Of course, there was a bit of an answer to that, and which just, I think another opportunity showed up, and then recently just went away again. And I think that thing has been an up and down cycle of uncertainty, of just, especially in our finances. I think finances is one area in which most people struggle with. Maybe finances and maybe health, and I don't know, maybe there could be other areas as well. But I think at the heart of uncertainty is an issue of faith, really, because when we're battling with uncertainty, we're battling with things that we do not know, because we're asking questions like, what is going to happen next? And that question can only be answered by you knowing the future, which is impossible, right? Because you're at a point where, say, for example, you do not have a job, or maybe let me say me, I do not have a job, and I'm battling the question of, so what am I going to do to provide for my family? What am I going to do next, right? That's a question of knowing the future, which we do not know. But we have a being, God, who knows the future. Now, when we battle with that question, especially when we feel like the future holds negative things and we're anxious about that, it speaks about how much faith we have.
Like where our faith is.
Yeah, like where is our faith in God and how much He controls the future. Yeah.
So how did you overcome that?
Um,
Or how, if not overcome it, because I know it's a process.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Today your faith level might be higher than it was yesterday, might be lower than it will be tomorrow. So how do you deal with that?
I think first of all, it's an issue of believing who God says He is. I think one of the main ways in which any of us can really start to deal with uncertainty in whatever spaces we find ourselves in is we need to start to believe when God says He knows the end from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? We need to actually believe that, because sometimes I think those things just enter our mind and they go. But what does that really mean when God says, I know the end from, or in Jeremiah 29, when he says, I know the plans that I have for you. They are plans, not to harm you, but, to give you a good future. Like, do we really believe what God says He is? So I think that's because when you believe someone, when I tell you, babe, I'm going to get you candy or whatever, if you believe that, and if that's something, if that's a need that you had in that moment, and you believe that Lovemo is going to meet that need, then you don't worry. Like you're good. You sit back.
He would never lie. He wouldn't,
right.
Give me false promises.
So you sit back, you're chilled, even though you're not sure. Like you don't know if you're going to have candy tomorrow, but I've told you I'm going to get you candy, so you trust. Or the same way that we trust our parents. When our parents, we were never really scared. Are we going to get fees? We trusted our parents always have our back. They're going to provide for us, and we never really worried as kids. And I think as we grow up, we lose that childlike faith where we just trust, and I think that's where we start. That's where we need to start.
Yeah, but also I think it's important to also acknowledge that yes, it could easily be worked out. You could come to God, you could pray, and eventually the good that you're praying for and what you know God to be, who you know God to be, and the faith that you have that He will pull you out of that situation might not always be what you think it should look like.
Exactly.
Right? I know, for instance, in my situation, I'm hearing I'll be unemployed or my contract will end later this year. Your immediate, your default reaction to that is, let me pray for another job.
Another job, exactly.
Because of the way I guess we've grown up, we've grown up to understand that you need to be employed. Obviously, you need some source of income, right?
Yep.
And the way we've identified that source of income is in formal employment. So my immediate prayer was, Lord,
I need a job.
Please help me get a job.
Yeah.
But then later I started thinking, okay, what if that's not God's plan for my life? Right? Maybe He wanted me to leave my previous employment, come here, get whatever necessary skills or experiences I need to prepare me for something else outside of that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that after this I will no longer be in employment.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that let me not limit God in my prayers. Right? I trust that He has plans for me. I trust that there is a way out of this. But Lord, now my prayers are, whatever plans you have for my future, whether it's formal employment, whether it's you wanting me to focus my energy and time in growing a business, or whatever it is, Lord, please help that come into play into my life. That doesn't mean I stop applying for jobs. I'm still applying for jobs, because until I get the answer, the clear-cut answer from God revealed to me, I need to still do my part.
Yeah.
But then don't always think that the outcome that you expect or you've grown to believe is what God will give you.
Yeah.
If you're praying for healing for your family member or whomever, and then that person doesn't make it, do you now say that God didn't come through?
Yeah.
I think
that's key, because when we're uncertain about things, there's this negative outcome that we're scared about. Like we're scared for example, what you just said, if we have an ill relative, we're scared of losing that relative. So we're uncertain.
So your prayers are for them to be.
Yeah, so the prayers are God heal this person. If we're jobless, we're scared of, not making it to the next bill, So we're praying, God, please help me find a job so that I can pay my bills. But I think we sometimes misplace the way that we pray. And I'm not saying it's not right for us to pray to pray for the best, but sometimes we focus so much on the positive outcome that we need, so much that we want to override God's will. Like we're telling God what to do for us, like we know what's best for us. So I think a good place, I was just thinking about I think it's Philippians 4 verse 6 that says, be anxious for nothing. How do you get to a place where you're anxious for nothing? Like nothing bothers you to a point where you have anxiety. And the text gives an answer to that, like, but in everything, in prayer and supplication, make things known to God, and then peace, the peace of God that passes understanding will be with you. So when you read that text tells you that you pray and you leave it to God, and you believe that whatever it is that God is going to choose is the right thing for you. You trust God so much that even if that job doesn't come, you know that, this is gonna suck. I'm not going to have, probably I will not have a pay, but God has, He's got this. God will provide, so much that you have peace. Peace that obviously is peace, as the text says, that passes man's understanding. How are you peaceful when
all this
madness is going on around you? So it's peace that passes understanding, but that's the peace of God. And that's where we need to get in, even as things are falling apart, even as we're not sure what the next thing is going. I think at the end of the day, being uncertain is a test of faith. And faith means believing in God, seeing the world through God's eyes. God, this is the God that was sleeping in the storm. Remember in the Bible, in the middle of the storm, he was asleep because he knew that God the Father was there. He had nothing to worry about. So this is seeing the world, seeing our issues, our problems as just that. These are stepping stones. Whatever happens, God is going to see us through. And I think that's something that's where we're driving to, and what we really wanted to share in this video.
And also I think sometimes we may sit back. I know definitely I sat back and thought, why? Like, why does this have to happen to me? Why am I the example? How was this selection made? And whether it's, you have an ill relative who doesn't make it, whether it's you losing your home, whether it's you losing your job, whether it's your child having certain challenges, and you're unsure of whether you'll be able to come out of it, right? You ask yourself, why could this possibly be happening to me? But also, if not you, who should it happen to, right?
Exactly.
I think it takes a whole lot of faith, a whole lot of the right heart posture, being so anchored in Christ to the point where you say, okay, Lord, if this is happening to me, maybe you're supposed to be a testimony for someone else. Maybe whatever it is that you're going through and how you process that and how you come out of that is now going to strengthen the next person.
Yeah.
Right? Because yes, everything around you is falling, but you are still so joyful.
Yeah.
Right? Because joyful doesn't mean everything is
happy
good.
And good, yeah.
It just means that you have peace and understanding that God is there with you. He will not forsake you.
Yeah.
Right? So you could be a testimony for someone. You could be someone who can strengthen somebody else. So whenever we're going through these situations, it's not easy. It's not easy. Definitely, even when you have so many responsibilities calling your name. You've lost your job, but you need to pay school fees. You have medical bills that you need to cover. And you're telling me to remain joyful because I might be a testimony for someone else. It's not easy.
No.
So it's very important to ensure that even in these times, right? Because your bills might be due in 2 days and you're telling God, if it doesn't happen in these 2 days, then I know you have forsaken me, right? You want to give God a timestamp
Timeline.
for your human understanding, but we need to know that God does not work in the way that we work.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we understand it won't be easy, but you need to ensure that day by day, offer your petitions to God, read the word, claim the promises in the word. Trust me, everything in life is going to change, but the one thing that is constant is God's word.
Yeah.
God does not change. He is the same today as he was yesterday, as he will be tomorrow.
Forever. Yeah, and just I think in closing, I was just thinking about Christ. You know, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, I think that is a perfect example of maybe what our hearts are supposed to be like, or the process in which we're supposed to go through when we're dealing with uncertain things or uncertainty in our lives. You know, when Christ was there, he looks at what is before him and he's clear to God, the Father, that God, I don't want this. And he says, if it is possible, let this cup pass. I don't want to drink of this cup, you know. And, you know, God is still presenting that thing toward you have to do this. And he comes back again, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. Like what you're saying, where you're saying, so why me? You know, that was where Christ was at when he was saying, I don't want this. Why me? Why do I have to be the one that dies for these people? I don't want this. Let this cup pass by me. You know, and as worst, because what I wanted to say is, it's when we're feeling that, I don't want us to feel that we're distant from God or that God doesn't get that. Because God has been through that himself. So he gets that. But he wants us to go through that to get to the point where we understand the way that Christ did. That if, Lord, if this is your will, because if it's continuously being presented before you, then chances are it's God's will.
Yeah.
So if this is your will,
Or sometimes, sometimes.
God.
No, it's just that sometimes it's very easy to confuse what
God's
we might
will.
think this is God's will,
But maybe
it's
it's just
the
our
enemy
mischief.
or our mischief.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But if it is God's will, then, you know, you accept it. And what Christ did, you know. So I think that's the process that we need to go through and just show that faith. It's just, you know, a faith the size of a seed of a mustard or mustard seed can move a mountain, and you know. So let's just show that faith when we're even in whatever times we're going through, and trust that God has.
And sorry, just one thing to add to that. I know we're supposed to close, but to that point, for you to be able to live out the faith of a mustard seed, you really need to ensure that you're surrounded by people who will encourage that faith.
Yes.
Because imagine if you have all these calamities going on, whether it's an ill relative, whether your child is struggling with some form of physical or mental disability, and then you have so many naysayers around you who are saying, hey, this is into the you know, like just forget it, get used to this lifestyle, proceed as such. You can pray, but I think we've been going through this for 5 years or 10 years. If God wanted to come through for you, he would have.
Yeah.
But you need to understand that God's timing is not our timing, and try as much as possible. If you have those naysayers around you, remove them.
Yep.
If you're to really have that faith of a mustard seed, you cannot have people who are injecting, you know,
seeds of
all these negative
doubt
seeds and
else.
doubt.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So that's it. We hope this is helpful. We hope
And it
this
strengthens someone.
Yeah, it talks to you in whatever situation that you may be, and it strengthens you to trust and just hold on and pull through.
Yeah. Key thing, just pray, remain consecrated with Christ, have people who, you know, intercede for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hope you liked the video.
If you haven't already, please like,
subscribe. By the way, we're overwhelmed by the support.
All the feedback.
It's been amazing, guys. were, I mean, on social media, people texting us, the comments, the likes, the subscriptions. Just thank you, really.
Yeah.
And it's been encouraging for us to hear from different people, really, just encouraging us and, sharing the videos online and wherever.
And I think the key thing for this was for us to be able to minister to others, for us to
Exactly.
be able to encourage people and just use our personal experiences to be able to strengthen the faith of others and to actually see that
It's
it's happening, whether
Yeah.
it's one person or two people,
Very
but
humbled. Yeah.
it's very humbling for something that you've prayed for, something that you felt was truly the way God wanted you to minister, and to actually see it and see that God really wanted to use
Yeah.
me in this situation. It's honestly a blessing. It's beautiful. I really pray that we continue to grow
Exactly.
together.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, guys. Hope you liked the
Thank you.
video. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.